The sound of metal crushing concrete echoed through the narrow streets. Dust rose into the sky like a storm. Children screamed. Women begged. Old men stood frozen, their eyes filled with helpless rage. And in the middle of it all, Jackson stood still. Black suit, cold eyes, expression unreadable. A bulldozer moved forward. Crash. A small house collapsed like it never existed. Please, sir, please, a woman cried, clutching her child. We have nowhere to go. Jackson didn't even look at her. Instead, he adjusted his cufflinks. Move them out, he said calmly. His voice wasn't loud, but it was enough to silence everything. One of his guards stepped forward, grabbing the woman roughly. The child started crying harder. Sir, please, we'll leave, just give us time. Jackson finally turned his head. Slowly, his gaze landed on the child. For a second, there was nothing. No emotion. No hesitation. Time, he repeated softly, is something you should have thought about before living on land that belongs to me. The woman dropped to her knees. Sir, please, not my problem. Crash. Another home fell. A group of kids ran out, coughing from dust, holding onto each other. Jackson watched them like they were nothing more than shadows. Behind him, a voice spoke carefully. Sir, this is getting out of control. It was Sugar, his assistant, standing beside him with a tablet in hand. This is going too far. These people, there are families, children. The media is all ready. Start full demolition, Jackson ordered. Suga stepped closer, lowering his voice. Sir, this will cost you votes. Jackson's lips curved slightly. Then we'll take them. Forcefully, Jackson turned to him, a dangerous gleam in his eyes. Fear is stronger than loyalty. They'll forget in a week. They won't, Suga replied quietly. Elections are coming. You're already losing support. Jackson smirked slightly. Support can be bought. The machines roared louder. Homes fell faster. And in the middle of the destruction, Jackson stood untouched. Untouched by screams. Untouched by pain. Untouched by humanity. Behind them, a giant board was being raised. It read, Coming soon, Lux Night Bar owned by Jackson Group. Miles away. In a small, cramped apartment, laughter filled the air. You burnt it again. I did not. Jungkook, it's literally black. It's crispy. That's not crispy, that's dead. Jungkook burst into laughter as Jimin waved a burnt piece of toast in his face. Eat it yourself then. No, you eat it. They both collapsed onto the couch, laughing like nothing in the world could touch them. For a moment, everything felt simple, safe, real. Jungkook leaned back, staring at the ceiling. Jimin. I need a job. Jimin turned his head, studying him. Again? One day Jimin said dramatically, You'll frame all these rejection letters as proof of your struggle. Jungkook chuckled softly. At this rate, I'll open a museum. So, what did they say this time? Jungkook unfolded the paper. We regret to inform you. Ah, Jimin nodded. Classic heartbreak letter. Jungkook leaned back. I just need one chance. Jimin watched him for a moment. You'll get it, Jungkook smiled faintly. You always say that. Because it's true. What if I fail? Jimin didn't hesitate. Then you fail. Jungkook blinked. That's it? And then you try again. Silence. Comfortable. Real. Then Jimin nudged him. You're different, you know. How? Jimin looked at him carefully. Most people are scared of the world. A small smile. But you want to fight it. Jungkook didn't know it yet. But somewhere in another country, someone who looked exactly like him was already destroying lives. Days later, Jungkook stared at his phone, heart racing. Jimin. What? I got an email. And it's from London. Silence. What? Jimin grabbed the phone, eyes scanning quickly. His expression changed. Shock, then pride, then something softer. You got the job. Jungkook's hands trembled. I did. Jimin smiled. You did, but then. The smile faded slightly. London is far. Jungkook nodded slowly. It's a job offer, a good one, good salary, accommodation, everything. Jimin forced a smile. That's amazing. But Jungkook didn't smile back. I don't want to go. Jimin blinked. What? Jungkook looked at him, eyes heavy. I just got you back. I mean this life, this city, everything. His voice cracked slightly. And now I have to leave? Jimin looked away for a moment, taking a deep breath. Then he stepped closer. Jungkook, look at me. Jungkook hesitated, then did. Jimin smiled softly. You've been waiting for this your whole life. But... No, Jimin shook his head gently. Listen. He placed a hand on Jungkook's shoulder. You don't stop your future because of me. Jungkook's eyes filled. It's not just you. Jimin chuckled lightly. It is. Silence. Then Jimin spoke again softer this time. I'd rather miss you than watch you regret staying. That broke something inside Jungkook. What if things change? Jimin smiled. They will. What if you forget me? Jimin laughed quietly. Impossible. Then his expression softened deeply. I'll wait, and you will call me daily. Oh, come on. Stop being dramatic. It's 2026. I can also come London once you settled. Then Jungkook stepped forward and hugged him tightly, like he was afraid to let go. Jimin closed his eyes, holding him just as tight. Go, he whispered, before I change my mind. London was colder, and at the center of it all, Jackson ruled. Inside a massive conference hall, voices filled the air. Politicians, businessmen, media, all waiting. Then, the doors opened. Jackson walked in. Instant silence. His presence alone was enough. Mr. Jackson, someone greeted nervously. We're discussing the housing crisis. Cancel it. The room froze. Sir? I said cancel it, Jackson repeated coldly. We're not here to solve problems. He leaned back in his chair. We're here to control outcomes. A man hesitated. But the public. Jackson's gaze snapped toward him. The public, he said slowly, will believe whatever we tell them to believe. No one spoke. Jackson continued calmly. Push the development project forward. I want signatures by tomorrow. And if they refuse? Jackson smirked. They won't. And if they do? His voice dropped. Make them regret it. The room fell silent again. That night, Jackson entered his mansion. Dark, silent, cold. Where is he? A servant lowered his head. In the room, sir. Jackson walked upstairs slowly, each step echoing. He opened the door. Jackson stepped inside, closing the door behind him. Click. Locked. Inside, a fragile figure sat curled on the bed. Thin, pale, shaking slightly. Taehyung, please. His voice was barely a whisper. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate. Coming closer. Taehyung's breathing stopped. No, no, no. Taehyung immediately flinched, backing away. I didn't do anything wrong, I swear. You tried again. Taehyung froze. No. Jackson tilted his head. Liar. He walked closer, slowly, like a predator. Taehyung's body shook violently. I just wanted to. Jackson grabbed his chin harshly, forcing him to look up. You don't get to decide what to do. Tears filled Taehyung's eyes. Please. Jackson smiled faintly. A terrifying, empty smile. You belong to me. Taehyung whispered. I want to die. Jackson's grip tightened. You don't get that either. Jackson stepped back, fixing his sleeves. Try anything again. Taehyung's breath stopped, and you will regret it. His eyes widened in terror, because he knew exactly what that meant. Jackson opened the door, then paused. No one will find your body, and walked out. The door closed. Taehyung collapsed, shaking, crying silently. His gaze slowly shifted to the bedside drawer. Inside, hidden carefully, were pills. His hands trembled as he reached for them. Maybe this time the room was silent. Too silent. Taehyung lay on the floor, unconscious, pills scattered around him. Time passed. Minutes, maybe hours. Then the door burst open. Sir, a servant froze. Oh God. Moments later, Jackson stood there, looking down at Taehyung's motionless body. No panic, no shock, just irritation. Again? He sighed. Called the doctor. Within minutes, people rushed in. Taehyung was lifted, barely alive. Jackson watched, unbothered. Why do you keep doing this to him? Suga's voice came from behind. Jackson glanced at him, cold. Everything I do has a reason. Then he added quietly, he is mine. At the same time, Jungkook stepped out of the airport. Rain hit his face. Cold wind wrapped around him. He looked up at the unfamiliar city. London. A new beginning. A new life. He smiled slightly. I'll make this work. But across the city, in a dark mansion, a man who looked exactly like him was breaking someone piece by piece. Rain poured heavily. Lightning split the sky. Jackson's car sped through the empty road. Faster, he ordered. The driver hesitated. Sir, the road is slippery. I said faster. The car accelerated, tires screeching. Suddenly, a truck appeared. Too close. Too fast. Watch out. Crash. The impact was violent. Metal twisted. Glass shattered. The car flipped. Once. Twice. Then, explosion. Fire swallowed everything. Burning. Destroying. Erasing. People rushed toward the scene. Call emergency. Is anyone alive? But the fire was too strong. Too intense. Inside, nothing could survive. Hours later, Suga stood at the site, face pale, eyes unreadable. No body? A police officer shook his head. Nothing identifiable. Silence. Then Suga whispered, Jackson is dead. But far away, Jungkook looked at his reflection in a glass window. For a second, he frowned. Why do I feel like? He shook his head. Nothing, but something had already begun. A chain of events. A twisted fate.